Howdy folks, Sjporr here in Little Face Brewing with MM.
Hi folks.
Alright, cool. We are coming to you today to talk a little bit about the 2021 Sjporr Challenge. What we've decided to do because of, well, before we get into this, let's have a beer. Can't talk about homebrew without having homebrew. And this homebrew is courtesy of the Dean's List.
Thank you.
You are welcome. This is one that's been sitting around for a little while. I think I've had this for about a year.
It's so nice to be able to smell.
I know, right? Mocktoberfest. So this is one here, 6.1%. This beer combines the harvest flavor of Marzen with the fruitiness of an ale and ties it all together with a hint of graham cracker. Sit back and enjoy this tasty beverage. Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. I'll sit you back in here. Cheers.
Cheers, even though I already tried it. I couldn't wait. You were talking too long.
That happens. Oh, that is nice. That's very nice. As always. So back at it. Sjporr Challenge 2021. Well, what we've decided to do this year, because of all of the difficulties of what typically goes into an Sjporr Challenge on a regular year, we cannot foresee this being actually going through very well in 2021. So we're planning on doing, let's allow people to heal. Let's allow people to not worry about a beer competition. Not worry about, getting beers out, being able to judge beers, not, and all that jazz. Let's heal in 2021. And we're going to put this off until 2022. A lot of reasons is COVID. I mean, that's pretty much the number one reason. Now, MM's here. She can actually talk a little bit about what opened our eyes up here recently.
Right, and I'll make it brief because, don't need the whole story, but I don't know, if you caught it at the beginning, I said, it's so nice to be able to smell a beer. So I started to feel not too well right before Thanksgiving. I honestly, truly thought I was just coming down with a head cold. But then I completely lost my sense of smell and taste the weekend before Thanksgiving. And I mean completely, like to the point that it was a little disorienting. Couldn't smell, couldn't taste, and called my physician, and went and I was tested, and I came back as positive for COVID. So, knock on wood, I had what they consider a relatively mild to moderate case of it. Most of it was just flu-like symptoms. I had 2 days that I'm going to steal Mike's description.
Right.
I had to go horizontal for 2 days where I just literally laid on the sofa, did not do anything. But that was the worst of it for me. Again, I'm lucky, I'm blessed. Our daughter that still lives at home also tested positive. Basically the same scenario, cold-like symptoms, flu-like symptoms for a couple of days, no smell, no taste. It's weird though because your smell and taste comes back in waves. You don't get it all back like right away. You don't lose it all right away either, and you also don't get it all back right away.
Exactly.
It comes back in bits and pieces. But it led to a discussion one evening. SJ was trying a beer from a fellow home brewer that I know for a fact brews excellent beer, and it was was that a sour?
Yeah, it was actually,
sour.
It was Gary's sour.
No, it was Shane. It was Shane Sanson's sour.
Yes.
Or
yeah.
lambic. It was his lambic.
It was a sour cherry lambic.
Yeah, and I know Shane Brew is an excellent, excellent brewer. And he poured me, just about this much in a glass because I was curious, and I couldn't taste. Now, I could tell it was a sour, but I couldn't taste any of it. And that led to a discussion of,
wow,
heck, how do
what happens if we're in the challenge and,
right.
and that particular thing happens?
Right.
That would really put a kink on things because we need all of our brewers to be healthy. They need to be able to, when their time comes to get their beers and do the reviews and all that jazz, they need to be able to do two things in particular, and that is
smell and taste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
there was a secondary piece of this puzzle that also came about while I was recovering, and obviously, as I'm sure you all know, if you get sick, if you test positive and you get sick with this, you have to quarantine, you have to isolate, and you have to quarantine. So I couldn't go anywhere. And then, of course, we're married, we live together. He had to quarantine.
Right.
So he couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
Well, if you have two people in your home who have to quarantine, you can't go anywhere, how do you ship beers?
Right.
And our local UPS office had to close down.
They did. And that was a shocker as well.
Right.
So
lots of puzzle pieces kind of hit the floor all at the same time.
Exactly.
When I came down with this, so
it was a very eye-opening experience, and thankfully, so we just went through this, middle to end of October, November, and still actually dealing with it right now because even though I tested negative, I had to quarantine longer than they did.
Yeah.
So if you're a hub per se, and unfortunately, if this gets into your household, that could put a stop to the challenge right there. If we had multiple hubs run into it. So the hurdles of a regular Sjporr challenge year are usually, it's a logistical nightmare that we're able to pull off. I'm not seeing that, that's not really I don't think that's a burden that we need to put on anybody in 2021.
Coming out of 2020.
Coming out of 2020, exactly.
And obviously people's health and well-being are more important.
Yes, way more important. That is by far and wide. We need to take care of ourselves before we worry about beers. So, we are not doing a 2021 Sjporr challenge. But, here's where the caveat is. 2022 we are. I mean, we got a vaccine coming out. I think good things. This thing is going to be behind us as we work through 2021. I have no doubt in my mind, no matter what, we're going to be better off in 22. So, think about your beers for 2022. We will pick up at the beginning of 2022. We'll start talking about, actually, we're going to talk about it all year.
Yeah.
Because what we've been talking about doing is, if you want to work on that recipe this year, your favorite recipe, you want to really dial that in. It is going to be a no holds barred, just flat out competition where you're going to take beer against beer. If you have a big old barley wine that you want to throw together and put in there, barrel age it.
Yeah.
This is your opportunity to actually put that beer into a Sjporr challenge.
Right.
You never really had that opportunity before. This year you do. If you have a sour that you want to work on, get that dialed in and get it going. To see what they're doing. Dial in that New England IPA. Work on that beer to where by the time it comes for us to ship our first round of beers out in 2022, you've got the best beer that you can brew.
Right. You may have already been sitting on it for 7 or 8 months, and that's
Absolutely.
okay, because for me, I like that concept. I like the idea of brewing a big beer that I can then sit on and let it age and let it really build to what it should be, and then enter it in the challenge at the beginning of 2022. So, like he said, no holds barred. This is kind of exciting when you step back and think about it. It's sad, but exciting at the same time. And like he said, it gives you a chance to dial in that recipe. Maybe you have an opportunity to brew something 2 or 3 times throughout 2021 until you finally nail it. And you're like, this is it. This is what's going to win me the gold in 2022. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. 2021 is going to be your build year. So build that beer. Build it. Work on it. Get it in fermenter. If it's a big old one that you're already confident with, that you've been wanting to set on, brew that bad boy and let it rest.
Did we come to a conclusion or a decision about fermented in general? Like, can someone throw mead in there or braggot?
You know what? A braggot? Why not? Why not? This is a flow in motion. So build it. Get it brewing. Work on it. 2021. Work on it. In the meantime, talking with Gary over at BrewTubers, we were talking about incorporating maybe some experiments in with BrewTubers this year. That way we can keep the idea of beers moving and stuff like that, and it's not a competition per se, but experiments on different things. And we can work with those guys on that. You know, hell, you might be able to use some of that as you're building your beer for going into the 2022 challenge. You never know.
Like the laboratory for developing your beer.
The laboratory for developing your beer, known as BrewTubers. I like that.
The BrewTube Lab.
The BrewTube Laboratory. I like that. I like that. So there you have it, folks. We are not going to do a 2021 Sjporr challenge. I just don't think that it's the right move. With everything that's going on in the world right now, we'd rather let everybody heal first.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, you know, and stay tuned for more info about, you know, the BrewTubers and the experiment options. And, you know, of course, the community's still there and still active. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's still brewing. We know that. You know, so your questions can get answered. You can bounce ideas off people. So don't feel like, oh, the community's going away, because it's not. There's lots of fun things to look forward to in 2021. Just sort of pushing the pause button on the big overall challenge, I guess is how to look at it. So
let's focus on healing, and then we can get all that out of the way, and we can get back to life in 2022. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to do something big. I haven't touched a barley wine in forever, and I've got this brew house now. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to brewing. So we're still there. We're going to still push our sponsors. We want to do some sponsor stuff, you know, for them as we go through 2021. But 2022 is going to be brew that best beer no matter what it is. So there you have it, folks. It's enough for us for an update for the Sjporr challenge. This is Sjporr.
And this is Pour.
Enjoy the fruits of your labor, folks.
And brew beer. And stay healthy.
Stay healthy. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, shit.
He missed the cheers.
I missed the cheers.
Cheers.